1.2, order of operations. All right. Okay, so we did this a little bit last week, so let's just do a little quick review so we can have it in our notebooks, and that way, if you're doing your homework and you forget something, you can always peek back at this. What does the P stand for? Parentheses. I think that's what I have under here. Oh, maybe, hold on. See if we can get it to go away. Oh, no, that's not what this is. It says please, which stands for parentheses. Excuse my dear Aunt Sally. There we go. It's the order of operations. But the P stands for what? Parentheses. The E stands for exponents. My and dear are multiplication, division. And last week when we talked about these, what did we say about multiplication and division? There was a key to those. Okay, you do them from, flip that, left to right. Parentheses, I'll put my exponent, multiplication, division, and then the A and the S stand for addition and subtraction, which we do those also together at the same time from left to right. Okay, so that's the key, and usually that's where people have a little bit of a mess up. It doesn't have to be parentheses though. It could also be brackets. If you see something like this, that's another way to write a parentheses, just a square parentheses. So if you see that, you do that first. Also, if you have a really big fraction, we put the numerator in parentheses and the denominator in parentheses, which means if we have like several things on the top or several things on the bottom that we need to simplify, we always do that first. We simplify the whole top, we simplify the whole bottom, and then we do the division step last. So we treat those like there are parentheses there. Okay. Good? Awesome. All right. Let's try a really difficult, which by the way, your homework will not be this difficult, a really difficult together order of operations problem. Okay, go ahead and write it down. And we're going to see how the order of operations, breaking it down into steps, makes it, if it looks pretty difficult, actually not that bad if we do it one little piece at a time. Okay, so we're going to evaluate this statement when A equals 3 and B equals 4. You can see we've got some fractions, we've got some powers, we've got some parentheses and brackets, everything's done here. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in the 3 and the 4. So I'm going to rewrite the whole problem with those values plugged in. All right, let's see. There we go. Okay, so A is 3. So I have 3 squared minus 1 squared over 2 divided by. B is 4. So 2 times 4 over 4 times 3. Okay, that's my first step. I'll put step 1 there, just plugging it in. Okay, second step is we use our parentheses. Okay, remember, if you have a large fraction, anything that's inside the numerator, denominator is simplified before you do the division that the fraction represents. So let's start with this guy. The 3 squared minus 1 is inside of parentheses. What part of that parentheses do I do first?
3 squared.
I do the 3 squared because it's an exponent, and exponents come before subtraction. So in that top one, I'm going to simplify 3 squared, and hopefully you can do that in your head. 3 squared is 9 minus 1 squared over 2. Okay. In the bracket over here, I can simplify. Let's simplify that numerator. Technically, that's going to be parentheses. 2 times 4 gives me 8 over 4, and then I still have times 3. Do I still have parentheses or brackets? Okay, so let's keep going. What else can I simplify? 9 minus 1 gives me 8, and I no longer need a parentheses now. It's 8 squared over 2 divided by, those brackets, remember, need a parentheses. 8 divided by 4 gives me 2. times 3. What would you do next if you were using the order of operations? The 8 squared. Simplify that numerator. 8 squared you can do in your head. What is that? 64 over 2 divided by 2 times 3. And all that's left now is division and multiplication, which we do together from left to right. So we're going to start with what's on the left first. 64 divided by 2 gives you 32. I'm just going to bring everything else down. 32 divided by 2 gives me 16. Bring down my times 3. Final step. 16 times 3 gives me 48. Final answer. Okay? Now you can see problems like this. Sometimes the order of operations gets jumbled, but you want to kind of keep focused on and you need to make sure all those parentheses are simplified. Maybe inside that parentheses there's an exponent or multiplication or addition, and we want to follow that order. As soon as the parentheses are done, we look at our exponents. As soon as the exponents are done, multiplication and division, and this time we didn't have any addition or subtraction. We didn't have to worry about that at the end. Questions? Once you get really good with the graphing calculators, which I know some of us are still finding them and we're not quite there yet, you will eventually be able to put this whole statement in the graphing calculator exactly as you see it, and it will simplify the whole thing for you using the order of operations. It's very user-friendly with how you're able to type things in. So again, that's something we'll practice a little later on once everybody has the calculators, but it will make your life a little bit easier. Okay. All right, we're not going to do this bottom one. I want you guys to try numbers 1 and 2 here with your partners. Okay, so a little simpler than the one we just did together. Use the order of operations to simplify number 1 and 2. And then if you're doing it on your own, maybe at least check with your partner when you're done, see if you guys got the same answers. My allergies are crazy today. Right here on the bookshelf. Glasses help. Do I have a group that wants to volunteer to put number 1 on my screen for me? We did number 1. What about number 2? Any volunteers for number 2? You guys already volunteered. That was your group's volunteering. No, we're not doing it. Okay.
Do I do the work or just the
Just the
answer?
answers, and then we'll talk about it. Anybody want to put numbers on my screen for me? I should have forgot.
I do that. My mom gets mad.
No. 34. Good?
I thought it was 35.
I think you're right.
Oh.
Second guessing yourself. 4 and 34? Okay, so the first one's a little tricky because what part do you do first? You do not do the subtraction first. You do the multiplication. You do 4 times 3, which gives you 12, and then 16 minus 12 gives you that 4. Okay? The bottom one, we do both exponents first. So 3 squared gives you 9, 5 squared, 25, 9, and 25 added together is the last step. You get 34. Good. Questions? Okay, moving on. Maybe. Here we go. Okay, let's try these ones. We're going to do this first one together. 5a, and that's a little 4 in the exponent there. 5a to the 4th power, and we are evaluating when a equals -6. Okay. It's a little bit of what we did on Friday, the evaluating stuff, and a little bit of our order of operations, putting everything together. Oh, come on, you can do this. I have faith. All right, 5, 8, and 4. So I'm going to substitute first. This is what we practiced on Friday. We're going to put parentheses where the variable is, like so. And then we're substituting in our number, in this case, -6. I don't see any operation between the 5 and the parentheses. Remember, if you don't see something there, it is a multiplication, is what's happening here. 5 times -6 to the 4th. What we have. What part do I do first? Parentheses, which inside that parentheses there's nothing to simplify, but then with the parentheses, -6 to the 4th power, you can type in your calculator. Everybody do that right now. Remember, negative numbers go inside parentheses in your calculator. Parentheses, -6. Make sure you guys are using the negative key in your calculator. It's at the very bottom of the calculator, not the subtraction. Okay? And then a parentheses, and then the little, looks like an arrow pointing up. That's how we use an exponent. It's called the caret key. Okay?
-1,296.
I agree with you, except for one thing. It's positive. And here's why the calculator is telling you negative, because you didn't put that -6 inside parentheses.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So you can't get a little mistake there. Okay? Did everybody get positive 1,296? Did anybody get like a syntax error or an error message or anything like that? If that happens, it's probably because you're using subtraction and not the negative key. You guys know the difference in the calculator between those? Negative's at the bottom, it's kind of by the 0. Subtraction is over on the right side of your screen. Okay. All right, and then I still have to do 5 times 1,296, which gives me 8,004. That seems a little big. Okay. 6,480?
6480.
Got it. Okay. Good? All right, let's try the next one. X plus y over x minus y squared. And we're evaluating for x is 9 and y is 5. X plus y over x minus y, and the whole fraction is squared. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do my substitution. And I don't have any negatives here, so I'm not going to be too worried about putting these numbers in parentheses. I have on the top x plus y, so 9 plus 5. On the bottom, x minus y, 9 minus 5. And the whole thing is squared. Okay, so remember, whenever we have these big fractions, we treat the numerator and denominator like a parentheses. We simplify the whole top and we simplify the whole bottom before we divide. 9 plus 5 on top gives me what? 14. 9 minus 5 on the bottom gives me 4. If I divide those, it's not going to be nice and pretty as far as a decimal. Well, I guess it'll be an exact decimal. 14 over 4 reduces to what? It reduces to 7 over 2. You could say 3.5 here, but again, we're going to try to avoid decimals if we can. If you can stick with a fraction, your life's going to be easier later on. And then you need to square that. Do you remember how to put the fraction in your calculator? Okay. Graphing calculator, people. You hit math. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. You hit alpha, y equals, enter. Alpha, y equals, enter to get the fraction to show up. Okay? And then you can square it from there. Yours will not work, Chase. Parentheses 7 over 2. Red calculator, people, you can do a 7 and then that ABC button and then a 2. Remember that? Maybe, yes, no? I'm with you, Mrs. McDonald. I have no idea what you're talking about, Miss McDonald. Give me some feedback, guys.
Got it.
Okay. So you have 7, ABC, 2, so it'll look like a 7 and then a little L and then a 2. And then you square it from there. Again, the little caret key squared. So it'll either give you 49 over 4, which technically what it's doing there is it's squaring the numerator and it's squaring the denominator, which, by the way, you can do that in your head if you wanted to. 49 over 4 is 12.25. So if anybody has 12.25, that is also a correct answer here. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Miss McDonald, I have a question. No, Miss McDonald, I don't have a question. I had no idea what you're talking about, Mrs. McDonald. You lost me 10 slides ago.
Yeah, that last one.
I don't know. No.
And you gotta ask, guys. You can't just shake your head and nod along like I get it, and then you're all of a sudden like, I don't get
Wait, what?
it. Okay. We're just gonna do one more problem. Let's end with the word.
Can you just like not do it?
Let's do it. Okay. When you are taking notes for a word problem, do you write down the whole thing? No, we're only gonna write down the important information. So read through this in your brain very quickly and tell me what is important that you should probably be writing down. Give me one fact that you should write down. Go. Okay, so $4.50 to play one game. What else is important information here? $4 to rent one pair of shoes. Okay. I think it's usually about $3. This might be a little overcharging. It's about $3 when I go bowling. All right, write an expression. An expression has no what sign? No equal sign. Okay. All right, to represent this situation. All right, now the question is, if you're playing, how many pairs of shoes are you going to rent? One. But do we know here how many games we're going to play? No. So the games is going to be a variable, and it's a variable. You can make it any variable you want, any letter you want is fine. When I do it, I like to name it with whatever it represents. So I'm going to use a G, because that way if I have to plug something in later, especially if I have multiple variables, I'll know that G stands for games and maybe S stands for shoes if we had to use that. All right, so if it is $4.50 to play one game and I play G games, what expression could I write? Now think about it in your head. If you did 2 games, you could hopefully figure out what that calculation is, right? It would be $9. So $4.50 and 2, what do I do to get that 9? Okay, and then you can work backwards from there. What operation needs to be between the $4.50 and the G? Multiplication. And so you can put nothing there like this. You can put a dot. You can put a parentheses. Any of those would be fine. So $4.50 per game. And then I'm also going to get charged $4 for shoes, but I'm only going to get one pair. So I know it's just going to be $4. So does that $4 get added, subtracted, multiplied, divided, parentheses, powers? How do I attach it? Here is the question. You do what? Add. 4. Okay, so now that I have my expression, part B, how much would it cost to bowl 4 games? What do I do? Plug 4 in for G. That's why I like using G, because I know if it's 4 games, I know exactly where to put that 4. 4.50 times 4 plus 4. And now this is an order of operations problem. 4.50 times 4. If you're doing your calculator, what do you get? 18 plus 4. Grand total is 22, and I'm going to label it with dollars. Any word problem, I want to make sure there's some sort of label attached. That's it. Order of operations review for you today. Any questions? Okay. Homework. It is the flat tire worksheet, which the same place you found the lion one, just keep scrolling. It's the second one on the list. Same deal, okay? So you guys have 5 or so minutes. I'll do the cell phone model in 1 sec. You guys can get started on that, and that's due tomorrow. Tomorrow we're not going to do a little Polaris quick check. That was just kind of like a one-time thing to see where we're at after that preview last week. We'll start the same way. You'll come in, maybe there'll be some sort of little warm-up problem. We'll roll the dice. We're going to do section 1-3 tomorrow. Okay?
Can I use your table?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm still.
What's Tuesday?
You're not.